They can't cook, so they have to go around to Jain households daily and beg for food. It is considered a very holy act for those regular Jains to donate food to them.
So the monks, they cannot cook, so other Jains, they have to cook for them. So then they're relying on someone to do what they believe is evil so they can eat. What? That is contradicting.
Welcome back to Muslim Minds. I am Hamza. This is Rohaib. We are here today to ask you to help us reach 1,000 subscribers so we can produce more content for you guys.
Reinvest back into the channel and do more in real life content. So yeah, make sure to subscribe to this channel to help us grow.
Today we're going to be reacting to Jainism Explained
by Cogito.
Jainism. Some call it the world's most peaceful religion. Its monks are famous worldwide for their strict adherence to non-violence, going as far as to sweep the floor as they walk in order to avoid stepping on lifeforms.
I know this religion stems from Gandhi.
Oh really?
I could be wrong, but that's just that's like the only thing I've heard about it.
This guy looks like Gandhi, so maybe.
Covering their mouths as to not swallow or breathe hot air on living creatures, and following a strict vegetarian diet that not only bans all meat, fish and eggs, but also potatoes. So what is Jainism? Why is it considered the world...
You don't eat eggs, fish, or what?
You said or potatoes or meat.
Just eat grass.
It's most peaceful religion.
Oh,
and why is this monk butt naked? Well, let's find out.
Clothes are overrated.
What do you mean? You have to wear proper clothes as part of our Sharia.
So this is the official symbol of Jainism. Yes, that is a swastika. We'll get to that eventually. Adopted in the 1970s, it represents the main beliefs of Jainism. I'm not going to explain what it means right now. Rather, we'll fill this symbol in as we go along. A Jain is someone who accepts the teachings of the Tirthankaras. Jainism comes from the word Jina. The Sanskrit word Jina means spiritual victor, while Tirthankara means maker of a ford. Now, a different kind of ford entirely. Thank you. Tirthankaras are the most important people in Jainism. They have removed all of their attachments to the world and during their lifetimes have managed to break free from the cycle of rebirth.
You know, one common theme we see in these dharmic religions is that they have this focus on breaking free from materialism. Well, not even that, but like being free from the world, right? And kind of living like a nomad, like a nomadic lifestyle. But I don't think that's necessarily, like from an Islamic point of view, of course, it's definitely not a good thing because Islam like teaches like a balance, for example. So I guess that's a contrast one could put between like Islam and Jainism, for example, is that Islam doesn't preach to be materialistic or in the world, but it practices is living spiritually while balancing the life in which you're living in, because you're still going to live on earth. You're still going to interact with the people. You're still going to be in society. It's just a part of your life on this planet. But you shouldn't overindulge in that kind of thing. Even spirituality. If you have a family, you have a responsibility.
You shouldn't even overindulge in spirituality or religion. It has to be a balance of everything.
Then you neglect your health or family. Yeah.
But even in Islam, you can also want to become better in life, like make more money and stuff. Like
because it makes your life in
this world and the next.
Yeah.
So if we want more money, better status, a better house, that's something that's, if it's all with the right intention, it's okay.
Because someone could say, oh, but I don't need those things to live a happy and contentful life. Well, that's for you. Other people, they might have different goals and plans. For example, making money is not all about being rich. It also could be, I want to make a lot of money so I could, spend it in the way of God. Spend
it on family.
Build holy temples,
You want to build a temple? You want to build a temple now? Why don't you build a masjid?
I'm using generic terminology. So that, or, I want to also feed the poor. How are you going to do that if you don't have money? You have to, if you're wealthy, you can spend on the poor.
Yeah.
So. And death, the Jains believe, keeps souls trapped on earth. They then built a metaphorical ford across the river of rebirth so that others can follow them to liberation. In non-Jain histories, a guy called Mahavira tends to get labelled as the founder of Jainism. In the same way that Jesus does in Christianity, tends to get labelled as the founder of Jainism. In the same way that Jesus does in Christianity. For Jains though, Mahavira, who predated the Buddha by a few decades, is just one in a long line of 24 Tirthankaras. Well, technically there have actually been an infinite number of Tirthankaras, but we just don't have time for that. Jains believe that they all preach the same eternal truths anyway. Buddhism, Hinduism and Jainism...
I'm assuming that Gandhi is one of these Tirthankaras.
Tirthankaras. That doesn't make sense though. They said it goes infinite, so they believe the universe and Tatankaras are infinite.
Maybe it could be like infinite
Well, yeah,
forward,
obviously
like progressively.
What do you mean?
Like as time moves on, there'll always be a Tatankara.
But they said going back. It goes back infinitely. If it's infinite, it's both ways.
Yeah.
Infinite regress.
Atheism? Question mark.
Jainism.
All grew up together in ancient India. The world that these three religious bodies evolved in during the 6th and 5th centuries BCE was dominated by two ideas. The first of these is samsara. When we die, our souls move to a new body and we are trapped in an endless cycle of death and rebirth, which is like super not fun. The second idea was karma, that actions, good or bad, affect your future rebirths.
Yeah.
Right,
See, I
so
like him.
Jainism is quite complicated, and the best way for us to understand it is to break it down into its 8 core ideas. Number 1, the 3 jewels. The Tirthankaras preached that the path to freeing your soul was the 3 jewels. Those 3 jewels are right faith. Right faith is accepting the 7 truths or tattvas of Jainism. Ooh, a list inside of another list. How exciting. Number 1 is jiva, that all living things have an immortal, perfect soul. Number 2 is ajiva, non-living
One
thing.
thing about Islam is that we also believe in eternal souls too. Your soul is technically eternal, made eternal by Allah. You die, but your soul will never cease to exist.
Well, it had a beginning, so it wasn't eternal. Only Allah's eternal.
Eternal moving forward.
Nice catch.
Things have no soul. Number 3 is ajrava, doing actions drags
Why does
karma to your
animation
soul.
always
4 is
say-
bandha, which is karma can stick to your soul. Number 5 is samvara, you can stop the influx of karma. Number 6 is nirhara, you can separate karma from your soul. And number 7
like karma
is
is like you can like substitute it with like good deeds, bad deeds, because bad deeds.
Can you?
Well, because
Yeah,
bad
yeah.
deeds also stick to your heart.
whatever. If you do something bad, bad can happen to you too.
And like you said,
I don't know if that's something.
it can stick to you. Like you
Yeah.
know that if you commit a sin, it's like a mark on your heart.
Is there any like thing in Islam about that?
Yeah. If you commit a sin, a black dot appears.
Oh
on your
yeah,
heart.
yeah, yeah.
moksha, separating karma from your soul, frees it from the cycle of rebirth and death. The second jewel is right knowledge. Right faith is believing those 7 truths. Right knowledge is truly understanding them. You can do this by listening to Jain monks and reading Jain scriptures. And the last jewel is right behavior. Right behavior is using your faith and your knowledge to live a life that is good and does not harm others. You can do this by following the 5 great vows of Jainism, the Mahabharatas. I know, another list inside of a list. Yeah, Jains like lists, like a lot. The Mahabharatas are, number 1, Ahimsa, non-violence. Number 2, Satya, always being truthful. Number 3, Asteya, not stealing. Number 4 is Brahmacharya, being faithful to your partner or being totally celibate. Number 5 is Aparigraha, not being weighed down by possessions or unnecessary attachments to people, places, or things. These 3 jewels are seen as the only path to moksha, freeing your soul. They are so important that they were incorporated into the official Jain symbol as those 3 dots there. Ahimsa is by far the most important of these vows and is strictly followed by all Jains. So let's take a look at that. Number 2, Ahimsa. Some Jain temples have an inscription above their doors, usually in Sanskrit but sometimes in English, that reads, "Non-violence is the highest religion." Jains believe that if you want to achieve moksha, you need to stop harming other life forms.
I'm gonna say this, and it's gonna be controversial to some, but violence sometimes is necessary in the cases of protection. Yeah, that's pretty much it. Because like, if you look at history and all the different civilizations, in order to survive, you had to be a little bit forceful. This is how all empires survived back then. If you were up and coming, notable, recognizable empire or country or whatever, there had to be a degree of defensive warfare and even conquests and offensive warfare. Because if you don't spread and conquer, your enemies they'll become larger than you and they'll wipe you out, right? So it's it sounds murky, but kind of look at that's kind of like how life is in general, right? Like if a tiger eats a chicken.
Yeah, everything in the world is violent. That doesn't mean it's necessarily bad.
It
So it's
depends.
interesting how Jainism people, they don't eat meat, they only eat vegetables and stuff. But I actually heard they don't eat some vegetables because some insects eat those vegetables. So everything is a little bit violent. Like insects will eat a plant. Or like any animal has to kill another animal. That's violent, right?
Or like
that's not bad. It's a balance. Just like we can cultivate crops, we can even like farm animals and eat them, and it's not bad. It's a balance.
Or like
What if there are so many cows? There's an overpopulation of cows. We gotta eat those cows. We can kill them in a halal manner.
Well, look at it this way, okay? If you if you're vegetarian and you're eating like some kind of green produce, you have to kill that produce in a way first.
You're killing the plant.
You're killing the plant. And
so
like,
why do you think
why is that important? Because we've just established that it has an eternal soul, like this video says, right? So I guess that's my point, is like whenever I hear like, oh, no violence, none at all, whatever, and like completely pacifist, I don't think that's very realistic.
Jains believe that every living thing has a soul and can therefore feel pain and suffering.
Exactly the point I just made about the plants.
But
so
plants don't have a soul, right?
Every living thing
has
a soul and feels pain. Every living thing has a soul and feels pain.
I don't think we as Muslims don't believe plants have souls, do we? I mean, no.
I have no idea.
Animals.
I don't know. I mean, we know they're living beings according to science, but whether they have like a ruh or not, I have no idea. But I mean,
so then everything has a soul. So what do you eat? You can't eat anything, even grass. Everything. I mean, never mind. Everything is living that you eat. It has to be living at one point. So even eating grass, you're killing the grass to eat it.
Yeah.
But that's not a bad thing. It has to be a balance. The grass will grow back.
Yeah. Or like, for example, like if someone's attacking your family, you have to use violence to protect your family. If someone is conquering your land, you have to use violence to protect your land. Otherwise, if you're permitting an unjust violence to you and your family, you're doing a greater evil.
Animal and even human rights are a fairly recent concept, but Jains have granted something similar to all life, even microbes, for thousands of years. Ahimsa is the hand in the middle of the Jain symbol, and the text there at the bottom reads, "All life is bound together by mutual support and interdependence." Number 3, Anekantavada. Life is complicated. In order to understand it a little better, Jains came up with a many-pointed doctrine known as Anekantavada. No single viewpoint can be the only truth. Instead, the full truth must be built out of a bunch of different viewpoints. There is a famous story in Jainism that helps get this point across. 5 blind men go to an elephant and each touch one part and attempt to describe what the creature looks like. The guy at the trunk says this thing must be as thick as a tree trunk, while the guy at the tail says no, actually it's probably more like a rope. The guy at the belly claims it's a wall, clearly. The other guy at the leg disagrees, saying it's a pillar. And the last guy grabbing the ears thinks they're all fools because it's clearly a fan. The story then goes on to say that a nearby wise old man told them that they were all right, but only partially, and that all their points together could describe the whole elephant. That wise old man? Albert Einstein. After explaining the elephant to the blind men, the wise old man bestowed more knowledge upon them. He said to never miss a Cogito video, make sure to click the subscribe button and ring the notification bell. And the blind men nodded, for they knew that this was great wisdom. Some modern Jains often see Anekantavada as a part of Ahimsa, as tolerance of other worldviews, especially when it comes to other religions. Number 4.
I can understand tolerance, but like if it crosses the line to its like acceptance, then it's contradictory, because other religions believe in different things from you, right? And especially like look at Islam, for example. Islam would say that there's only one God, Allah, there's no other God. You have your 5 pillars, 6 pillars of faith. These things are not testified by Jainism. So there's a difference in contradiction. You could not affirm it. But tolerance, I think that's
just let them do their thing. Yeah.
Samsara and Moksha. Samsara, the endless cycle of death and rebirth. For Jains, rebirth is not a good thing. Even a good rebirth, as say a prince or a potato, is sad, because no matter
This makes sense to me. You know why?
Being born as a potato?
Yes, because no, actually, like because in Hinduism, if you live a good life, it's like, or a decent life, it's possible to be reincarnated as, something preferable, like another human being. But if you like, sin, you can be reincarnated as something lower, right? But the thing is, like, if you're rewarded for what you've done in the past by being born again into something new and preferable, you don't even know. You don't remember. Like, that reward doesn't really have much value because you don't even know what you're being rewarded for. And likewise, if you're born into a lower life form, you don't even know why you're being punished because you don't remember.
So he said in Jainism you remember?
And in Jainism, he's saying it's different. It's that being reborn at all is not a good thing. That actually makes sense because you're starting the whole thing over again.
But you don't know if you're reborn or not. You don't have knowledge of that past life, so what's the point?
Yeah. So still not.
It's like if reincarnation is a thing, no one even knows if you're reincarnated, so what is the point? You learn no lesson.
Yeah,
so that's why Hinduism or this Buddhism, stuff like that doesn't make sense to us, because reincarnation doesn't teach you anything at all.
Because they say reincarnate until you escape this life and reach moksha. But the problem is, even if you do good, you can still be reincarnated again, and you won't know what you have to improve upon from the last life. You could even do
people
worse.
Be reincarnated? What about new people that get born?
That's one thing I had a question about.
Doesn't make sense.
You have reincarnation, but what about people? Like, are there new people then, or is it all the same thing?
So there's like one person reincarnated 100 times and some new person being born.
Could be.
It doesn't make I don't know. It doesn't make sense to us. Because we believe you're just born, and then once you're born, everything you do is accounted for, and then you're tested on the day of judgment. That's what we believe as Muslims.
Yes.
I don't know if I can be born into a potato.
How good your life is, all happiness is temporary because it all ends.
Also, if you can be born into a potato, that means if you believe in Jainism, when you eat a potato, you're eating someone else. What? When you eat French fries, you're eating someone else? They literally said you can be born as a potato. They probably believe that. Because they believe it's a life form. So what the heck? You're eating a soul?
Death. Yeah, it's a bummer. And there's only one cure for this: moksha. If you achieve moksha, then your soul will escape the cycle and go on to live at the top of the universe in infinite bliss.
I know, he loves this footage.
This can only be done by completely removing karma from your soul. Number 5, karma. The term karma means action, but this action has consequences. Jains believe that your karma affects how you will be reborn in your next life. But good or bad karma is irrelevant to Jains because it's the fact that karma keeps rebirth going that they see as the main problem.
Okay, see, I can at least accept that though. Like how that they see it as a problem. Being reborn is a problem, like for the reasons we've established, right?
So, but yeah, I still don't
they're
understand.
They're still saying karma affects how you're reborn.
They're still saying you get reborn.
But the thing is, I don't understand why it would affect how you're reborn again. Because because when you're born again, you don't remember what you did in the past. So if you're being punished as a result of what you did in the past, you don't even know.
Yeah, if you don't remember it, then what's the point? There's no continuation. And
your new current self would kind of be like innocent from what you've done in the past.
If you're reborn as a lower, but how do you know if you're actually lower or higher? It doesn't make sense.
Jains have a rather unique view of karma. They see it as a physical substance. Jains believe that karma is kind of like atoms that cover the entire universe. When you do any action, it attracts these good or bad karma atoms to your soul. Then later in life, or possibly in another life, they release their good or bad effects. Once they've done that, they fall off your soul. Passions such as hate, anger, greed, or lust will act as a glue that makes even more atoms stick to you, and so will make the consequences even more powerful. Imagine your soul as a cloth and karma as dust. Passionate actions make the cloth wet, and so the dust sticks to it easier. Karma is what keeps you stuck in the samsara cycle. Karma physically binds your soul to this earth. But wait, there's more! You can escape this by burning away all the karma attached to your soul. The best way to do this is by becoming a Jain monk or nun. 6. Monks and nuns.
But that means you have to be reincarnated so many, probably thousands of millions of times until you end up somehow becoming a Jain.
Or you just convert to Jainism, become a monk, and then you're good. That's
what I'm saying, but how many people actually do that?
Yeah. And how can they validate this? How How does that work?
I guess what we're trying to ask is like, what's the proof of the religion?
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. With the Abrahamic faiths, you have like historical.
Because if
proof,
you're
scientific-
reincarnated and if you're successful, you leave, then how do you know it's even true?
And for the Hindus in the comment section, do you guys accept Jainism as like another interpretation of Hinduism? Or do you see it as like a deviant sect? For the Jains, do you guys see yourself as a part of Hinduism? Like, I'm really interested how you guys view the connection.
Jain monk and nun life is based around the 5 Mahavratas, the great vows that we saw earlier. The first of the Mahavratas is Ahimsa. For regular Jains, Ahimsa means trying to avoid harming other forms of life. For a monk or a nun, though, this is turned up to 11 and includes even a microscopic life. Along with being strict vegetarians, they can't eat raw food, eat at night, or eat any food that they haven't thoroughly inspected in case they accidentally consume other life forms.
Why can't you eat at night?
I don't know.
I guess it's not good for your health. That's actually true.
Well, yeah, that's true, but yeah, we don't know the further explanation. But that doesn't make sense because every time you walk somewhere or do anything, you're gonna affect a microorganism.
Yeah.
Literally, there's probably millions of microorganisms.
Even when you wash your hands.
Yeah. What? So how does that make sense? How do you live? I don't know.
Or how do you live in a house because it's comprised of materials that were once living, like wood?
Spitting facts.
They can't cook, so they have to go around to Jain households daily and beg for food. It is considered a very holy act for those regular Jains to donate food to them. They also carry small brew.
So the monks, they cannot cook, so other Jains, they have to cook for them. So then they're relying on someone to do what they believe is evil so they can eat. That is like contradicting.
Yeah, so the only thing that does is kind of like pass the torch of blame to someone else.
Then why are they helping them if they believe they have dust on their soul? Because only if you're a monk you can clean up that dust. Becoming a monk is a dust. What is it called? Dust cleaner. But everyone else has dust on their soul.
Because even by, like, if you steal, right, you're stealing. But if you say, hey, you steal this for me, you're still guilty.
So if they believe cooking is bad, but saying cook for me so I can eat, so I don't know.
Booms to brush away tiny life forms in their way so they don't crush them. They cannot ride in vehicles because of the damage they cause, and they can't bathe because of the harm it could potentially do to waterborne life. Some Jain monks...
What about the potential to harm others with your stink?
So guys, we're not... Look.
So I'm just joking.
Hamza and I obviously do not agree with Jainism or like the lifestyle.
This is the first time we've ever heard this.
But I will say you don't need to be offended by that. We have the right to disagree.
And also, a lot of the times we're saying it's kind of just joking around. It's not so serious. But some of the stuff
like
we
we're
are
gonna
disagreeing with.
We're gonna this many restrictions on eating and the concept of rebirth.
They can't take a bath
showering, begging
forever.
For food. Like if that's your faith, we'll respect you, but we will disagree. That's what the whole Muslim Minds. That's what the YouTube channel is about. Open thought, open dialogue. So.
But yeah, like what? Why don't they believe? If you're not
They
cleaning your body, you're harming your own body. Yeah. That's disgusting. You can have diseases and stuff.
And you could get you could get someone else sick then.
Water cleanses itself. Like, does it actually hurt water if you take a bath? It doesn't, right? Everyone takes.
Please cut that out.
What?
I'm trying so hard not to laugh. Okay.
I'm not cutting it out. How does it hurt water to take a bath? We've taken baths from like hundreds of thousands of years. The water's still there. The water evaporates into the clouds and becomes cleansed, doesn't it?
But he's saying the microorganisms within the water.
But they purify themselves over time. Then we will never have
like
clean water.
But those microorganisms that might die.
There's only a set amount of fresh water in the world, so everyone's used it to take a bath. It doesn't make... Can someone explain if I'm wrong, but that doesn't make sense. It just doesn't. What?
Even wear mouth guards to avoid inhaling airborne life.
What?
Give me a second, dude.
Damage they cause, and they can't bathe because of the harm it could potentially do to waterborne life. Some Jain monks even wear mouth guards to avoid inhaling airborne life or harming it with their hot
They
breath.
predicted
The
COVID.
second Mahabharata is not to lie, and the third
What?
is not to steal. Those two are kind of simple. I hope even non-Jains are sticking to those ones. Third is not to steal. Those
What
two
a
are
steal.
kind of simple. I hope
It just
even
stands
non-Jains
there.
are sticking to those ones. The fourth Mahabharata is the complete renunciation of sexual relations. Because, how do I say this? Strict Jains believe that people pollen contains vast numbers of living things, most of which will die soon after the act is complete. They also believe that having a romantic relationship is a form of attachment. Kind of like the...
So they don't. Then how do you repopulate?
What the heck? How do you repopulate? The end goal that Jainism advocates for is no sex,
I just
which
want to
is
make sure I
no
got that right.
kids.
You heard it too, right? He said don't do it because it can release.
Your people pollen has what's it called, life forms in it.
People pollen.
It's
That's
micro-
what I was thinking. I was like, can they not? Now they can't. So then, like, how do you procreate?
So then humanity dies with Jainism. What?
For the Jains who are watching this, I hope you.
I know
I hope
Jain
you- I hope
people
you-
that have kids.
That's the thing.
Doesn't
so,
make sense.
Like, I know you guys are not bathing. I know you're eating. I know you're procreating. So then, this has to be a misunderstanding.
The Night's Watch. I probably should have just said that. Can we delete the people pollen part? The fifth and final Mahabharata is that of non-possession. Jain monks and nuns carry nothing but a few necessary items like their brooms
Stop getting his
and move
apartment.
every day in order to avoid attachment to one place. For Jains, this is the best possible life because of how non-violent it is. It is the best way to achieve moksha, and regular Jains hold the monks and nuns in very high regard. Due to the monks
I
and
just
nuns...
think, like, if you think rationally, that a lot of these things do contain violence. Not bathing yourself to the point where you become very kind of dirty, and then you can become, you can harbor diseases.
Not repopulating, so you're just causing death.
Yeah, not
I was
repopulating.
joking, but what the heck?
And by the way, if you do not release your people pollen, that it still dies within you. It becomes old and recycled, or like expelled, right? Am I wrong?
I don't know.
dependence on the Jain community, the relationship between the two was extremely close and personal. Interestingly enough, the earliest nuns in history are probably found in Jainism. They can be traced back to the times of Mahavira, and Jainism is quite unique in the fact that nuns outnumber monks by a huge margin. Number 7. Regular Jains. The vast majority of Jains are not monks or nuns. Many accept that their time to be a monk or a nun will come in a future.
All those things just apply to monks.
Doesn't make sense though, because only if you're a monk you get to achieve the end goal. So why? I don't get it. Why can't you just choose to be? Why is not everyone being a monk then?
Life. They follow the 5 small vows, the Anuvarata, which is like a diet version of the 5 great vows. These aren't strict rules.
So it is different between the regular and the monks.
Regular Jains should try to avoid violence and violent jobs. They shouldn't lie, they shouldn't steal or cheat people in business, they shouldn't be too frisky, and should remain loyal to their husband or wife, and should do their best to unburden themselves of their wealth, ideally through charity. Jains are an extremely charitable community, but rather than their cash donations going to monks or nuns, they are spent on temples, health clinics, schools, libraries, or animal shelters. Regular Jains also practice strict vegetarianism. Eggs are counted as meat, they don't harm any insects, so honey is out as well. Anything fermented is considered...
Egg considered meat.
Because it comes from a chicken.
But if it's not fertilized, it's just yolk. It's just yolk and egg white. There's no bird in it.
Maybe anything related to animal. That's why they just eat vegetables.
have life forms in it, so alcohol is also out the window. Root vegetables like potatoes, onions and garlic, literally my entire diet, are cancelled because you need to rip the entire plant out of the ground to eat them, thus causing destruction. Due to these vows, Jains have gravitated towards careers in things such as business and law, and today, Jains are amongst the wealthiest and most educated groups in India. Number 8. Loka. The Jain universe, or Loka, is made up of 3 parts: The wide top part is the heavenly realm, the waist is the earth, the wide bottom part is hell. At the tippy top of the universe is the Siddha Loka, where the souls of those that have achieved moksha go and enjoy infinite bliss. That's where all the Tirthankaras are chilling. Oh, look at that, we've got more of our Jain symbol thingy filled in. Jain hell is very Dante's Inferno. There are 7 layers. The deeper you go, the worse it gets. You stay in hell until all of your bad karma is burned away and you get to be reborn on earth again. Now, hell in Jainism isn't really a punishment like it is in other religions. Rather, it's seen as a natural consequence of...
Okay.
It's a punishment because you're
be punished for the negative you did until you're purified. That's a punishment. It's like putting a kid.
Does this look like not a punishment to you? This picture, they're burning.
That guy's
getting
attacked by dogs.
Yeah,
this guy's missing his leopards.
Bad karma. The zone above the waist is the realm of the gods. This realm is like super fun. There's no suffering, everyone is happy, there's unlimited refills, probably a trampoline. The people that are reborn here are the ones with really good karma. But just like in hell, this isn't really a reward. You were reborn here due to the natural laws of karma. And even the gods...
But the thing is, they're trying to say it's not a reward or a punishment to deter people from saying this. If you go to this heavenly realm, as a consequence of your good actions, which it is, you can't say it isn't, because if you do good, you end up there. So it's a consequence, right? And you live there and you're enjoying it. But then when you're reborn, you don't even remember the reward. So what's the point?
Yeah, there's no point. It's like if you live every day and you just don't remember what you did last day, you're not going to learn anything. There's no point to it.
It's kind of like a gambling game until you just get all the cards right.
Until you choose to be a monk. Then you go to the... So why doesn't everyone just do that if you're Jain? There's no point. So I didn't just choose to be a monk now to achieve moksha. That's why I don't understand.
Eventually die, and karma still binds their souls in
What happens if you're born in Africa, to some remote tribe? How do you... I guess you're just bound to be reborn.
Yeah, what if you never know about Jainism? Because the first time I heard about Jainism literally was a couple of days ago. I'm not even lying. I didn't know what Jainism was. And then they say it started in 1970s.
I think it really took its holding with Gandhi.
Yeah, but they did say it goes back to infinity. So
they say that, but it's just
part of their belief.
It's rooted with Hinduism. That's why.
And Hinduism.
Alright, so even the gods will eventually be reborn on Earth and will need to try and achieve moksha. This is why some Jains say that bad karma is a chain of iron and good karma is a chain of gold, but both are chains. All souls can be reborn in the Loka as any of 4 types: plant or animal, human, hell being, or god, which is what the swastika in the Jain symbol represents, each of the 4 potential rebirths. Would you look at that? Looks like we just filled in the whole symbol. The swastika also represents the cycle of death and rebirth. All Jain temples and holy books must contain the swastika. It is an ancient and beloved symbol in India for many different religions. The Nazis kind of made things a bit awkward in that regard. Every living thing, from a grape to a god, has the ability to be reborn as a human and achieve moksha. So, those are the 8 main concepts.
Can you only achieve moksha as a human? Yes, yeah.
A grape. A grape to a god. What? So can they eat grapes or not then?
No. Well,
that's a fruit. But when they eat it, it's a person. Do they believe every fruit is someone? They said a grape to a god. So what's even the difference then? Because a grape will become born again and a god will become born again. So grapes and gods have no difference. What? So if you eat anything, you believe you're eating someone. Then what happens? What happens if you eat a grape?
Of Jainism. But it does leave us with some questions. You may be wondering, is there a Jain god? What do they pray to? What's the dealio, Mr. Video Man? Well, the Jain concept of God is very unique. They don't believe in a creator of the universe. Instead, they believe it has simply always been here. The liberated souls at the top of the Loka are beyond all...
Ever heard of infinite regress?
So how did matter come into being? If all the variables of the universe are dependent, that doesn't make sense. There needs to be an independent variable. Otherwise, you have an infinite regress like Hamza said.
What if it's the universe itself?
And
I'm just kidding.
If
it doesn't make sense.
Because then How do you transition into a life of rebirth? How do you get to moksha? How do you get to hell temporarily?
Why are you asking us? Ask the grape.
Like, if it's all random, right? If it's all random and there's no actual God and this is all just like the natural world, then how do we know you get to moksha? How do you know? Like, Islamically, we believe in heaven and hell and all these different realms because we believe God communicated to mankind that. But if there's not a God communicating that to us about Jainism,
Yeah, there's just a universe. There's no
then
entity.
means,
Then how do you know?
like, who can discover moksha?
Yeah, what the
There's
heck?
no such thing as like tapping into like a higher spiritual God. I mean, he said gods, so just gods always exist then?
But gods need to be reborn as well. Gods to grapes. Grapes to gods.
Wants and desires, so they see no reason to interfere on earth. Jains worship them in order to be more like them, rather than to ask them to help out in life. Now, some Jains worship the gods in the upper heavenly realms, and since Jains are surrounded by Hindus, they tend to worship the same gods as them. But in the Jain worldview, those gods in heaven are imperfect, and are still trapped in samsara just like them. What about the different religious sects? Does Jainism have those? Of course, just like every other religion. The two main sects are the Digambara and the Svetambaras. Now, you may be thinking, ugh, to yourself right now, what boring theological reason could there be for this split? Is it an argument about how to make holy bread or who should have been the main religious guy after another guy? Nope. This one's about naked dudes. The main theological divide between the Digambara and the Svetambaras is whether or not monks should wear clothes. The Digambaras, the sky-clad, claim that in order to be completely non-attached to the world, monks should also renounce clothing. This had the consequence of saying that women could not achieve moksha because they couldn't be naked in public, which was kind of just assumed. The Svetambaras, the white-clad, disagree and argue that a person can be unattached to clothes mentally but still wear them, so women can achieve moksha just like men. There are a few more differences between them, such as which Jain scriptures they accept, but the main one is the clothing. Jains have been highly influential in India for thousands of years, shaping its vegetarian-friendly diet and lending the concept of Ahimsa to Gandhi's independence movement.
Did it start in the 70s or not?
Maybe that's like when the main thing started. Because I don't know. Gandhi was in the 40s and 50s. He wasn't even in the 70s. Gandhi was not in the 70s at all.
As knowledge of the Jains becomes more common outside of India, it confronts many people with difficult concepts. People tend to assume that the world exists for human consumption, to fulfill human desires. But for Jains, the world is something to give up, where humans are not dominant over other life forms, but part of an intricate web where animals and plants are more than just things to consume. In the last century, Jainism has found itself in a strange position. Their ancient philosophy has garnered the eye of the modern world as the ideas of non-violence, strict vegetarianism, and what could be called an environmentalist outlook are strikingly relevant in a world coming to terms with the fact that it may be consuming itself. Karma particles track you in real life and have severe consequences.
You know what he said about the end on having a balanced world where animals can live and stuff like that? Muslims believe that too. But I think as Muslims, we actually have a more balanced view of the world. You can't just... If everything was just left to itself, the whole world would just be a jungle. Like humans, we believe Allah put humans as the leaders on the world because we're the ones that run the world. We are humans, the only life form with a conscious. No other life form on this earth has a conscious like humans. So we believe Allah made us, put us here, and we treat the world with respect and stuff, but we also eat meat. We live a balanced life. Jainism seems, they try to say they're balanced, but actually very unbalanced. All the stuff that they advocate for is actually extremely unbalanced.
Let me chime in on that. To say that, what humans are doing is unnatural and shouldn't be done, that is what the nature of a human is, though. So that is actually natural. That is actually what the natural is. Because if you look at a tiger, for example, if it mauls a chicken to death and eats it, no one's going to call that evil. But if a human eats meat, all of a sudden it's wrong. That doesn't make sense. We're herbivores. We can eat meat. We can consume meat. We can consume vegetation, all these kind of things.
Carnivores.
Yeah, carnivores just straight up eat meat only. So the thing is, in the world as we see it, we don't consider these animals evil. What they do to the environment, we don't see it as evil. Humans, the only reason we have to protect the environment is, again, for ourselves and for the other life forms on Earth. because there is a level where you can take it too far. But building a home, or farming, making clothes, these things aren't inherently evil, just like we wouldn't consider other things inherently evil. But if it has a devastating impact on the environment where life is unnecessarily dying, like if you go out and if as a human you kill animals without need, that's wrong.
Yeah.
But if you're doing it in harmony with nature, which is nature says you just kill something and then you eat it like all other animals, then you're in consistency with nature. So I think worrying about microorganisms and these kind of things, not wearing clothes.
Yeah, like they can't eat potatoes, garlics, or onions because it harms the earth.
You can't eat anything then.
But then what will happen to the potato? It will die. It just goes to waste. It's already growing naturally for us to eat. Why is it there? Just to be there? Then it will literally die in the ground and a new onion will come. Like what? You have to eat it. There's nothing wrong happening. The earth rebuilds itself. You can wash yourself with water. It purifies itself. The earth is purifying itself. So as long as we're in balance with the earth will be in balance with us. It's all in harmony.
And that's also to
assume humans are part of the harmony. We come from earth. We believe as Muslims we're made from the earth.
And this is to assume that death is evil or inherently wrong. It isn't. Even the taking of a life is not evil or inherently wrong, because we've established like a carnivore taking another animal's life is not inherently evil. What's evil is causing unnecessary or unwarranted death or murder, right? So
yeah, and the whole reincarnation thing, it's a major thing in Jainism and also Hinduism, Buddhism, that it doesn't really make sense.
If your natural consequence of being good is being in a place that's good, if your natural consequence of being bad is being in a place that's bad, how does that logic align? Because when you're reborn again, you will not have even a memory of that. So what could you learn? You're starting over from scratch yet again.
Why doesn't everyone just want to be a Jain monk? There's no point in wanting to be a lower one, because you're just going to be reborn again. Only the Jain monks achieve the highest state, which is moksha, it's not even being on earth. So why would you even want to be a lower Jain?
And my biggest question, what's the proof? Like, well, what gives credence to this faith as opposed to other religions, as opposed to Hinduism or Buddhism or Judaism, Christianity, Islam?
Yeah, I would say honestly, out of all the other stuff we've watched, Jainism is the most extreme.
I agree.
It's like so much. That's why we kind of were like saying maybe stuff that might seem disrespectful. I was just joking and stuff, but just so like
it's not disrespectful.
The views are so different.
Like we're not going to mince our words.
It seems irrational.
Yeah.
So that's why.
It's like, I can say here plainly, I think atheism is irrational. I think Christianity is incorrect. I think, Hinduism is not something that's applicable or real either, right? We're Muslims. That's what we believe. We believe in one religion. So we're going to...
I just think Jainism, the rules, they made the least sense to me.
Yeah.
Not even from a Muslim mind, just from a general rational mind.
Yeah.
Because some people say if we're Muslim minds, we can't have any other mind.
No, a lot of the things...
But my mind is a rational mind.
A lot of the things we're talking about are things you can observe in nature.
Yeah, anyone can say the same thing we're saying. Guys, hope you enjoyed the video. Comment anything down below on our comments or our thoughts if we're right or wrong. And assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam.